Thank you. Thank you so much, Geraldina. Some more housekeeping, guys. You may realise that there's a lovely QR code on your badges. It's not just a pretty thing. Use your phone. If you scan the QR code, you will get the agenda. You'll be brought to a website which has been set up by a pretty amazing guy from one of our European chapters, Paolo, who's in the audience here somewhere. And I've given him a great task today at the last minute, with 5 minutes. Geraldina has mentioned something about the different presentations we're going to get over the next couple of days. And sustainability is as big and as infinite as you can possibly think. So when we got the task of putting sustainability into a European conference a number of years ago, we started planning this a number of years ago, we were wondering how we were going to funnel this into something. But we realized we can't, because as a concept, sustainability is ever growing. We know that we're bringing some very different concepts, paradigms and perspectives to you over the next 3 days. We've people from MEPs to clinical specialists, and we know that we're going to influence your thinking in relation to sustainability over the next couple of days. So on the website, when you click your QR code with your camera on your phone, it'll bring you to the website. There'll be an area in the website that will ask you for your opinions in relation to sustainability, because we know and we hope that we're going to influence your opinion over the next couple of days. So it might move, that's okay. You use 2 comments. You might think something today and then that'll be changed by Saturday or Friday. But the reason why we want your comments is, out of this conference, this European conference, we would like the European region to have a statement, the Sigma European region to have a statement on sustainability and what that means. And we'd like your views, your comments, your thoughts in relation to that, because, as I said, as a concept, it's extremely large, and we'd like to funnel that into what that means for Sigma Europe, what it means for our profession as nurses and midwives. So please do use the QR code, click in, and feel free to use the hashtag, take the pictures. We live in a world of social media. Just be careful, you have it on silent, and I know some people need to have their phones on. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Liz Westcott, who is our European Regional Coordinator, and we're very lucky to have Liz as our European Coordinator, and she brings a great wealth of experience and professionalism to the role. So without further ado, please do welcome Liz. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and wonderful to see you in person. And also hello to everybody who's logging into this virtually, either just at the moment or if you're looking at it in retrospect as well. It's fantastic to see you all. And I want to thank introduction from Mark and from Geraldina for your gracious welcome to us. And I'm going to do more welcomes as well. As Mark has said, I'm the Sigma Europe Coordinator. And I'm also the president of the FIMU chapter. So I'm delighted to be here under both hats as well. And like all of you, I absolutely adore being in Sigma. I love the connections that we all make. I love the fact that we can chat to people anywhere in the world, and I love our European region. We're very extensive, as you'll see from the presentation, and we have so many different cultures and different views about nursing and nursing as a profession. But I think one of the things that we always remember is that at the heart, the patients that we are ultimately here to improve the life or the death of are always the same throughout the world. They might be in pain, they might be having trauma, they might have mental health problems, whatever it is. But whether patients don't have boundaries. And I think that's the wonderful thing to remember about Sigma, that we're here for all people throughout the world, and they don't have boundaries. So it's great to share what we do and to learn from each other. So a big welcome to everybody. I think we have delegates from all regions of the world, either in person or virtually. And we're also really honoured and delighted to be joined by our CEO, Liz Madigan, and our President, Ken Dion, as well. It's great that you've travelled over from America, and I gather that you've also retrieved your luggage as well, which in this day and age is quite a miracle if your suitcase actually arrives where you arrive, isn't it? So what do we mean by Europe? So we're here to celebrate all of our Europe connections, and we have at the moment 11 European chapters. So we have Rcsi at Large in the Netherlands, Upsilon Xi at Large, which is our Welsh chapter, Pi Omega from Sweden, Phi Mu in England, Phi Xi, who's our Portugal chapter, Chi Delta, our Armenian chapter, Omega Epsilon at Large, who is our wonderful Irish chapter, Omega Lambda, our Israeli chapter, Omega Xi, our Scottish chapter, Alpha Alpha Beta, our Italian chapter, and Alpha Alpha Gamma, our Croatia chapter. And we've just heard this week as well, fantastic news, that we're going to be chartering a chapter in Finland, that I think is going to occur hopefully in October, November time. And that's the University of Eastern Finland. And so we will be, by the end of the year, with any luck, we'll be 12 European chapters, which is just fantastic. Within Europe, we've always been very active in developing a strategic plan. And our current plan is based around 8 areas. And it's developing critical mass of numbers and chapters. And one of the big things that I think issues that we all within Sigma grapple with on a yearly basis is growing our numbers and then retaining our numbers as well. And one of the things I'm proud to say about Europe is that we have one of the highest percentage rates of retention within our chapters, which is fantastic. And we spend a lot of time engaging with our members and making them feel as though they're part of that big Sigma family, and also helping them to recognise what they can get out of Sigma and how valuable it is for them for their nursing and for their career to be in Sigma. So another of our goals is to increase European participation within Sigma, and I'm delighted to say that centrally within Sigma we have a number of roles undertaken by European members. So Liz Weathers is on the board of directors, and we have Les Gelling and Elizabeth Rosser on various of the central Sigma committees as well. And we feel within Europe that it's really important that we have the voice of Europe held across all of the Sigma region as well. So we're wanting to make Sigma as visible and relevant for nurses as possible. And particularly in the climate that we're in at the moment, where money is tight, and working conditions for many of our nurses are just increasing the pressure on a daily basis. So it's so important, I think, for us to be able to share what is the value that people get out of Sigma. Why should they fork out that money every year to be in Sigma? And so a lot of our role is to really share the exceptional qualities that people have through being in Sigma, the resources that we've got, the networking that we can have, and the comradeship that we can bring to nurses across the world through being in Sigma. So a lot of the time we spend in Europe really trying to get those messages out. We do a lot of collaborative research as well, and we've had a number of publications this year with collaborations with colleagues across the Europe area. We're very participatory in the mentorship process under the Global Mentoring Programme, and we have a number of our members who are either mentees or mentors, and again, we're very passionate about that. We develop collaborative working through international linkages, and we're always on the lookout to see what organisations we can collaborate more fully with. And we've recently started collaborating more fully with the Florence Nightingale Foundation, which is great, and we're always looking for more collaborations. And sustainability is one of our key areas that Gerardina and the wonderful Irish chapter brought to us. And that's now one of our key strategic plans is to, after this conference with our sustainability promise, is to start thinking about how can we influence that. And we were chatting earlier and we were thinking if every single nurse in Europe just does one tiny thing to improve sustainability, then that's millions of ways that sustainability is then improved. And I think if everybody thinks, oh, it's everybody else's responsibility, it'll never happen. But if on one day you think, actually, I'm just going to be slightly more clever about how I use something or how I recycle something, if all the millions of nurses in Europe and worldwide do that, think of the difference that we can make and think of the influence that we can have. And one of the other areas that we're now looking at very closely is workforce development as well. And that's newly into one of our plans. So we have a range of European regional committees, and at the end of my presentation, Marie-Louise is going to take you through those to give you more detail. So how do we connect with our members? Well, as I've said, a lot of what we try and do is to try and influence nursing in Europe and influence our members. And we were the first region to have our own customised website. We're very proud of this. It is a great gateway through all the information that you can find out about what's going on in Europe. It links to all of our chapters, but it also links to all of our committees, to our publications, and we're getting more and more numbers viewing that platform every day. And our main aim is to try and convert people who aren't Sigma members who look at that platform to think, oh, this looks really interesting. I think I want to join Sigma. So we're developing that all the time and working on it. And we're very grateful that Sigma HQ facilitated us developing this website. And Marie-Louise was very pivotal in getting that up and running as well. So we're very active on social media, and our Twitter is at Region Sigma. We have a very active Sigma European region, and we have well over 1,000 members on Facebook. And again, our goal, quite a few of those members aren't Sigma members. And so one of the things is to try and convert them to think, oh, this again looks really interesting. I want to join this organization. We have our own European YouTube channel for the Sigma Europe region, and a lot of presentations that are undertaken throughout the European region are now on that YouTube channel as well. So you're welcome to click onto it and see what's there. We also have a LinkedIn account as well, and you're welcome to join all of those. So our Europe, the YouTube channel is as I say, very active, and a lot of the presentations from Coimbra 2 years ago and also from the other chapters are posted on there. So we're very lucky to have a European Development Fund, and 40% of the profit from each of these biennial conferences goes into that European Development Fund. And we use that for a variety of awards that any of our European members can apply for. And we have facilitated people to attend European conferences through that award process and to get recognition for the work that they're doing, and also to support them in research that they're undertaking as well. So it's a great resource for us to have, and we're thinking of more and more creative ways all the time to be able to maximise the use of that. We have a fantastic event that occurs every November where we get many of our PhD students across Europe together, and it's called our PhD Virtual Connect. And our 7th event occurred last November, and our next event is happening this November as well. And that has grown and doubled and trebled every single year that we've run it. And again, quite a few of the people who present are not Sigma members, but by the time they've presented and they've got to know Sigma, then they become members after that. And we give them support and confidence in the research that they're doing and in their involvement and in the Sigma family. So that's a great one to look out for, and that'll be heavily advertised on all of our social media before November. So some of the awards that I was just mentioning that we support through the European Development Fund, we have recognition of nursing excellence, and these were a number of our award winners from last year, and we've got Paolo and Felipe here, and who are some of those award winners. And the research grant was launched in February 2022, and two of those grants are just in the process of being judged at the moment, and we will know the awardees of those very soon. So we try and use our money to the most benefit. We were also very honoured last year to have two of our European members being given very prestigious Sigma awards. And so the Dr. Janet Scammell was awarded the Melanie C. Dreyer Award for Chapter Services, and Professor Elizabeth Rosser was given the Mary Toll Wright Award. And although Janet and Elizabeth and myself couldn't go to Indianapolis to receive the awards, we received them virtually, and we stood all together in the same sitting room, you know, waving at the screen and listening to all the presentations. So we made the most of it, even though COVID wouldn't let us fly. But it was very exciting, and we were very honoured that they were both recognised in such a way. Giuseppe Elio was also given an honorary membership at the Sigma conference last year in 2021, which again was a fantastic honour. So this year we've got a number of people in our region becoming a Nurse Researcher Hall of Fame recipients. So Alan Finnegan, who's from our Welsh chapter, but is based in Chester in England. And also Gennaro Rocco, who is from our Alpha Beta chapter in Italy. So it's fantastic. Both of them will be receiving Hall of Fame in Edinburgh in a few weeks' time. And Siobhan O'Connor from our Phi Mu chapter in England, she's being awarded Emerging Nurse Researcher and Scholar. So again, on an annual basis, we always try and encourage our members to apply for awards, and more often than not, they're successful as well, which is fantastic. So on to the Congress. It's not that many more weeks before Ken and Liz will be flying over the Atlantic again to get to us. And this is being held in Edinburgh this year. And I know a number of you are also going to that event, and it'll be extremely exciting. And the agenda looks fantastic for it as well. And I'm sure we'll be looking out to see what presentations are on sustainability, Gerardina, and supporting those very fully as well. So we're very honoured that that Congress this year is in Europe and is much more easily accessible for us. And also don't forget, those of you that actually can't get there, there is a virtual event component as well, which again is a lot cheaper if people are thinking of their pockets. And so you can access the Congress in person or virtually. So I want to, on behalf of Sigma Europe region, make a number of thank yous. First one is to Dr. Nicola Connelly and Gerardina Harnett for spearheading all of the planning for this event. I know there's an enormous team behind you that have helped in the planning, but I know that the two of you have really led this. And thank you very much, Dr. Mary Boyd, for allowing us to use what fantastic facilities here at Rcsi. It's brilliant. And also Professor Thomas Kearns, who's been very instrumental in helping us to get the conference up and running. And also to all the volunteers and all the staff on the site here that have helped us, from the caretakers, catering, cleaners, everybody that's here to make our event as special as possible. And for all of you attending, thank you very much indeed for making the effort to come here and supporting our Sigma family. And for those of you that aren't members of Sigma already, we hope that after these few days you'll be really passionate and think, yes, I'm definitely going to join and get as much as possible out of this event. So I hope that you all have a fantastic number of days, and I'd be delighted to chat to any and all of you at any point over the next few days and get to know all of you. and it's going to be a really brilliant time to learn far more about sustainability, but also to learn about each other and to recognise nursing throughout Europe and throughout the world. So thank you very much.
Just doing a little bit of housekeeping at the same time as emceeing. Okay, and thank you very much, Liz. A lot of information there, a lot of stuff happening for chapter members, so please do, if you don't hear about it verbatim and hear about it in the conversations, there's lots of information upstairs in the examination hall, and you'll see lots of Sigma details and information at the various stands. And please, as Liz has said, please don't be afraid to ask about Congress, about any of the events that are upcoming. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Marie-Louise Luking, who was the past European Regional Coordinator, but has been a sterling contributor to Sigma, both in her own chapter, in her own country, but also into the European region, and also into Sigma International. So please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Marie-Louise Luking.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending the opening ceremony this afternoon, and for obviously travelling from all over Ireland and all over Europe and from the United States and from further global regions. I've obviously very passionate, as some of you will know in the audience, about Sigma and Sigma Europe. And I actually just want to shine a light on the regional level, on the members in all the committees, because, you know, it takes a village, if not a city, to raise, you know, Sigma Europe to what it has, you know, become over the last few years. And I'm more than aware of that, having served the 4 years as regional coordinator. So it's also under a sort of a bit of a legacy title as well. Under the chair part here, I was putting down, you know, the various chairs that I coordinate, and it was looking a bit like Morse code. So my apologies, I thought it was cleaner slide if I just left the committees out in that title. So it's not going up. Oh, down, sorry. So I just really want to start with a nostalgia, because over the last couple of weeks on our Facebook and Twitter, to obviously promote the conference a little slightly different than the fabulous communications team of Liz Weathers and Mo and Jonathan, I had a look back in my archives and I couldn't find any photographs from Wales. Now, that's not to say there weren't cameras in those days, but you know, I couldn't. But we started obviously in 2012 officially with conferences, but, which is, some of us probably don't know, that we actually started in 2010, called the European Business Meeting at Utrecht, and in 2 consecutive years we had a small gathering of European presidents, which, you know, when we had 6 chapters, you can see that it was a small gathering. But we did have the commitment of Sigma at that stage, because the president at that time, Karen Moran, visited us at Utrecht. So we have that legacy of Sigma, you know, HQ being there on the ground, helping us, you know, to progress further. So on this first slide, this is 2014 when we were in Sweden. And Tora Hofsteindottir, who's here, was regional coordinator. So I don't think you're on the stage, because I think this is the Swedish chapter at the time we were congratulating for the fantastic conference. The slide on the other side is a little bit more relaxed. That's Utrecht 2016. That's my back garden. But it goes, I think, to show how well everybody came together. And in that slide, in the middle, we have the president of that time, Kathy Catronbaum, and we have Patricia Thompson, who was the CEO before Liz Madigan took over. So you can see, you know, it is a professional organisation, but it is also a fantastic network, and everybody comes together when we need to, as I say, build a conference. I'm going to go to the bottom, which was Cambridge, and we had the current president at that stage, and we also had Liz Madigan and I believe Hester Clopper, who was the past president. So there was quite a lot of interest, as I say, at that 2018. In 2020, we had to go virtual, which I don't want to explain any further, and I know Lourdes Lomba, who's here in the audience, might want to forget the lead up to that conference, when we had 6 weeks literally to come from in-person to, as I say, digital. This is just a montage of what virtual conferences look like when you're on the other side of the screen. So I think that speaks reams to us now, 2 years further. So we have a legacy, and I'm just shining the light. Now I'm going to move on to the standing committees, because, as I said, in order to get Sigma Europe to where it is today, and obviously for the future, you know, it's not on one person's shoulder. It takes a whole village, you know, to come together, to volunteer, and they also need to be given, you know, the platform and to be able to say thank you to them, especially at conferences like this. So our first committee is the Membership Involvement Committee, and I joined them in 2017. And as I said, we have Professors Mark Tomiotti at the top, Milko Zanini, Alison Steffens, myself, Philippa Ventura, Harman Hummel, Peter Wolfensberger, Mats Christian, and Ana Felipe Cardoza. And this is actually over 8 countries, so it is truly international. And as Liz mentioned, they do the PhD Virtual Connect, they do masterclass every year, they organise the National Nursing Day on the 12th. This year we went a little bit rogue and asked colleagues for their student nurse photographs in the days when we were all student nurses. And I know Liz Westcott came in with a sterling photograph of her time as a student nurse, and my uniform matched yours as well, didn't it? So I trained in the UK, so I think we all wore light blue. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through any more of the slides. I have put the web page down because that's our house, and obviously the terms of reference, I'm sure you've had a quick look while I have been mentioning the colleagues' names. Nurse Education Interest Group morphed out of a mentoring group that we were going to initiate in 2016, but since Sigma Global had a stellar mentorship coaching starting up at the time, we decided that it was better to join that global program. So some of the girls, as I said, didn't want to stop, so we morphed into a Nurse Education Interest Group. And as you can see, Sue Barron, Monica Bianchi, Joanna Sousa, Katie Fraser, Karen Krinsberg, Geraldina Harnett, Kirsty Jack, Stefan Nillison, Sigrid Warsowski, Janet Scammell, and in the early days we had João Apostella and De La Costa. Again, this is now over 11 countries, all working together. They've had 2 publications. The 3rd publication is up in process at the moment. I'm going to go on. Communications committee set up again at Cambridge, actually. I went hunting at the conference and managed to get a number of interested members. So I'm going to Ilya Kagan, obviously from Israel, Semyon Melkov from Israel, Helena Feldazara, Portugal, will miss me, Kirsty Jack, obviously from England, Liz Westcott has joined us since end of last year, I think, wouldn't it, Liz? Yes. Peter Vermeer, who I know is up here, Professor Vermeer to my right, and Lisa Langen. And we're responsible, obviously, for communicating as far as possible everything that the chapters do and the region does. So I'm not going to go any further into that. So this is our research committee, and this is actually one of our older committees because this was, up and going from about 2012. I think I'm looking at Tora, I think when she was regional coordinator, launched that as one of the first committees. As you see, we have Rcsi Patel. I'm sure Rcsi, Professor, are you in the audience? Yes, she is our chair. And we have Parveen Ali from England, okay. Myself, Cheryl Slotnick from Israel, Birgit Heckermann from Sweden, Caroline Dickinson from Scotland, Claudia Chavez from Portugal, Vanessa Heaslop from England, and I know Vanessa is also here. I'm not putting her on the spot. There we are, yes. And we have now Temiato Odessio from Edinburgh. As you can see, again, there's about 10 different countries and chapters represented, and they have one publication, several conference presentations, and a chapter in a book. So there is obviously outcomes from there too. Awards and Recognitions Committee. Again, as I say, we have a new member, Boris, from one of our newest chapters from Croatia, from Alpha Alpha Gamma. We have Nina Eichmann from Sweden. We have Milko Prosen from Slovenia, although he's actually a member in the Welsh chapter. We have Sue Barron from England. Okay, myself with Ruth Lernahan. Ruth, are you here as well? Maybe, yeah, I see, okay. And we have Christina Martins from Portugal, and again, the newest member from Julie Churchill from Scotland. As I say, when the awards, they look after, scholarships, grants, recognitions, you name it. And from the meeting this morning, they might have a bit more work in the future, but it all comes together beautifully. This is our new Nursing Workforce Committee. It's part of our strategic plan from last year, 2021. We hope that we will be able to launch it officially at the symposium that Professor Donaldson Drennan is doing, I think, on Friday. We just want 2 minutes at the end, I believe, just to obviously tell everybody that we're here and we are up and running. So, obviously, we have co-chairs, myself with Milko Stanini, we have Gianluca Catania, we have we have Janet Gamble, and we have Nicola Cornali, we have Evelyn Finema, who actually is a CNO for the Netherlands, Raphael Bernays, Karen Rennie from Scotland, and we have Andrea Marques from Portugal. So again, representative of, I think, 9 countries here and 7 chapters. This is the National Planning Committee, and I know, obviously, this is a bit of a full slide, but I really did feel that, all these members need to be mentioned because they have done sterling work, over the 2 years. And obviously, at the end of the conference, when we hand over to our next planning committee, that they will, in 2024, be standing, obviously, somewhere else, but obviously mentioning these people, because they have really, done an absolute fantastic job, especially in the COVID time. So what I'm wanting to say is to say thank you to all these people. That's why I'm here, because, they don't get, obviously, the thank yous. They're not in it for the thank yous because it is, voluntary. It is servant leadership in a way. And they are leading because, that's made our region what it is today. All those people coming together, prioritising on their busy agendas. We've all got our work, our hobbies, our families, you name it. But all these members, they need the thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Mary-Louise. Thank you so much. And thanks for highlighting, as Mary-Louise said, it takes a lot of people to make today happen. We have a lot of tools to help us. So I've kindly been WhatsApped there to remind anybody who hasn't booked into a workshop after this opening ceremony that it's still okay to do so. And there's plenty of availability. And you can do it by using the QR code on your card. So it gives me great pleasure. We wouldn't be here in this fabulous building today if it wasn't for the latest member of our chapter, which is Rcsi, which was brought into the chapter by the Emeritus Dean, Michael Shannon, who's in the audience here. But we're represented today by the current Dean, a friend and colleague of mine, who became a fellow in the Royal College of Surgeons, Nurse and Midwifery faculty at the same day as myself. And we have memorable photographs together. So please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Mary Boyd.
Thanks very much, Mark, and our paths go back a long way indeed. So, yeah, it's great to be here. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Faculty of Nursing and Midwifery at the Royal College of Surgeons Ireland, University of Medicine and Health Sciences. My name is Dr. Mary Boyd, and I'm the Dean of the Faculty, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to be here in person in Dublin today for the Sigma 6th Biennial Conference, and I'm truly delighted to be here with you in person. It's absolutely amazing. This event is hosted by Ireland's Omega Epsilon at Large chapter in partnership with the faculty and Sigma International Planning Committee of European Chapter Presidents. Unfortunately, Professor Thomas Kearns can't be with us today, and he would have loved to have been here, but he sends us absolutely best wishes. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here today to this gorgeous city, whether it's raining or whether it's snowing or whether we have nice sunshine. And I hope that your time here in those 4 seasons that you'll have in 1 minute will be enjoyable, informative and highly applicable to your own work going forward. And I know some people have lost some luggage. Please don't be worrying about it. Whatever you can turn up with tonight, the Dean said you can be there. I want to welcome Dr. Kenneth Dion, President of Sigma Nursing. Very welcome. Elizabeth Madigan. Dr. Elizabeth, you're very, very welcome, and our paths crossed in the past when I was entered in to become a Sigma member, so you're really, really welcome. I look forward to the keynote presentations over the next coming days, and from Rachel Kenna, our Chief Nursing Officer at the Department of Health in Ireland, from Maggie Langans, European Chief Nursing Officer, World Health Organization, from Professor Sheila Tao, Co-Chair of Global HIV Prevention Coalition and Nursing Now, Professor Daniel Otter, in the pink, everybody will recognise in the pink, President Academy of Environmental Engineers and Sciences, Dr. Peter Singer, Special Advisor to the Director General, World Health Organization, Professor Joanne Boscanwet, I hope I have that right, MBE, CEO, Foundation of Nursing Studies, and Miss Rose Gallagher, MBE, Professional Lead at the Royal College of Nursing. We can look forward to a range of informative symposia hosted by the Emeritus Professor Eileen Savage. Is Eileen in the audience yet? Probably not up from Cork yet. So delighted that Eileen is here. Eileen and I worked on many projects when I worked at University College Hospital in Cork. So a big welcome to Eileen. Excello Coaching and Facilitation, Grace Sullivan, MEP, European Parliament, and Professor Jonathan Drennan, Chair of Nursing and Health Research, UCC. The Sigma 6th Biennial European Conference is of great importance to those of us eager to see the ongoing development and constant evolution of nursing and midwifery professions. As we all know, nurses and midwives are the forefront of the global efforts to improve and enhance healthcare delivery, with that global and goal of addressing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Nurses and midwives work across diverse healthcare and community settings and are uniquely positioned to lead, as we've heard earlier, to contribute to achieving the sustainability. The conference themed on sustainability and partnership is absolutely critical and is key to a better future. Sustainability is essential to improve the quality of our lives, protect our planet's ecosystems, and preserve natural resources for future generations. And we only have to look at the last 2 years in what has happened, and some of the really good things and positive things that have happened, but equally some of the things that perhaps will not have helped our ecosystem. I recently saw a beautiful park covered in blue masks on the ground, just disposed away, and I just thought, we need to do something better with these masks. So it's just one of the things that we need to start planning, how we are looking after our planet. Sustainability is essential to improve the quality of the lives, and also to ensure that we are caring for our future generations. I look forward to the variety of concurrent sessions around these themes, and for learning more about how nursing and midwifery contributions can lead in these areas. When we come together, now that we can do, there is an opportunity to build some fantastic connections and networks with our colleagues across many, many jurisdictions. This conference enables nursing and midwifery leaders, clinicians, educators and researchers to share the cutting-edge research and transform nursing and midwifery practice and ultimately benefit the patients. The conference facilitates the establishment of networking and connections, supporting and sharing of knowledge, experience and processes across countries, which provide innumerable benefits to us all. By learning from each other's diverse experiences, we are challenged to consider how we approach our work, how we engage in certain situations, and there is the potential for a light to be shone upon our blind spots, all of which creates opportunities for improvement, which is ultimately what we all desire. I'm delighted to welcome you all here today, and I wish everyone in Dublin a fantastic conference. I know that Professor Kearns would have loved to have been here, but I also know that Catherine Clune-Mulvaney and the organising team here on the ground at the faculty have worked extremely hard to make sure that we really are a really good host for all of you. So if there's anything at all, please let us know, and I want you to give a round of applause to Catherine and the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It gives me great pleasure. By the way, if anybody ever wondered where Ireland got the name of 1,000 warm welcomes, you'll understand why. We've just given you 4 very warm welcomes there. So just to get us going, sorry, I'm just getting a message on this about signing into an account that I don't have. Okay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our president of Sigma Nursing, Ken Dion. And Ken is a PhD, Masters in Nursing, an MBA, and his current role is in Business Innovation and Strategic Relationships at the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. I'm always curious about when my wife admires a woman of a similar vintage who looks so well. And when I read Ken's bio, I reckon I'm a similar vintage to Ken, and he certainly looks better than I do, as he turned out immaculately here today. So I'm starting to appreciate what my wife's commentary in relation to women of a similar vintage, because Dr. Dion nursing career began in 1989, a year after mine, and he got very involved in the Student Nurses Association, the National Student Nurses Association in the US, and served as National Treasurer. What's really interesting about Ken is when nobody was doing innovation and entrepreneurship, Ken in 1999 founded Decision Critical, which is a company, a cloud-based information company, which looked at lots of things, including patient portfolios, e-portfolios application, critical staffing systems, reverse staffing systems, And that was a very successful startup, which was moved on and was sold a number of years later. Ken joined Johns Hopkins in 2018, and he's been Assistant Dean for Business Innovation and Strategic Relationships there. But he also has a really important role as being a conduit. We talk about multidisciplinarity all the time in academia and in nursing and the importance of it. And Ken is a conduit across all of the faculty in Johns Hopkins and brings people into the nursing profession and into our nursing academic scholars in Johns Hopkins. And he's a fellow of a number of organizations. He's a fellow in Virginia Henderson, a fellow in Billy Brown. He's a fellow in Sigma Theta Tau, and he also is a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing. And I was lucky enough to be present when he was made a fellow here in the Royal College of Surgeons. So please give a warm welcome to our president, Dr. Dion.
Thank you for that introduction, Mark. That was wonderful. And you used the word that I use. I try not to say old nurse anymore. Now I'm a vintage nurse, so you're absolutely right on that. Let me first say, what an amazing event. I want to give another round of applause to the group that put this event together. This is just absolutely amazing. I would also like to point out that this is the point at which that you turn on Google Translate because the American is beginning to speak. Good, that got a laugh. And I will say, I'm going to take a poke or two at America today, and it's no disrespect whatsoever. It's that in America, a lot of times we're very myopic, and we have a lot of things to learn from other people around the globe, and I'm going to come back to that. But so if I slag off the Americans a little bit, it's not that I don't care for them, it's just that there are some things that we could do better as well, and we can learn from you. So I want to tell you, it's a great honor to be here with you today. I want to bring greetings on behalf of our board of directors, our staff, of course, and our 135,000 colleagues around the globe in over 600 chapters of Sigma. So you're a member of a very large organization with 600 plus chapters, and we're happy to have all of you and are so grateful for all that you do for Sigma and for the nursing profession. Please, one more time, give y'all round of applause. Say I told you, translate. Do I get in trouble if I wander away from here because I know it's being recorded? Okay, because I like to walk and talk. Okay, good. So, we all know, well, or we may not, Sigma is now entering its second centennial. We've been around for 100 years. And so Sigma was started by 6 nurses at Indiana University, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. But in that first 100 years, we had a presidential call to action. And for this biennium, we changed that up, or for this centennial actually, but starting this biennium, we changed that up to an organizational call to action. Because it's not about one person, it's not about the president of the organization and what I think is important, or what my predecessor thought was important. It's about you, the members, and the profession. And so we moved to this organizational call to action. Now, the organizational call to action, as you can see behind me, very good at doing bad lighting, that's in American. If there was ever a time for nursing to step up and be bold, this is it. I mean, we have had the spotlight in the last 2 years. But there are a couple things here that we have to work on as a profession. One of those is being willing to take credit for our work. Because as a profession, we don't do that a lot. We like to get the job done, move on to the next thing, and pat on the back isn't really that important. It's about the patient outcome, and that's where we see that we're making the difference. But if we don't talk about what we do, and we've already heard about that a little bit this morning, or this afternoon, sorry, I'm so behind. We will go undervalued as a profession. I mean, who understands healthcare better from the bench to the bedside to the boardroom than the nursing profession? But to move our agenda forward, we really have to be willing to go ahead and step up and talk a little bit more about what we do. If you talk to people outside the nursing profession, they don't understand that we're researchers, we're entrepreneurs, we do all of these interesting things. No. They think that we move patient sheets and things like that, and that's all that we do. And we're so much more than that. So,
Just for the video.
this is the first time I've been told to raise my voice in my life. And I have to remember to move the slides forward every once in a while too, so I'll wander back over here. But it's a challenge, right, for us to articulate what we do. But if we don't start talking about the value of the nursing profession and taking credit for the work we do, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to advance our agenda about so many different things. So being bold is about speaking up, and it's time to speak up. One of the other challenges that we have is that we have a bad habit of talking to each other, but not talking to other people outside of the profession and connecting with other people. And I always use my good friend here, Dan, as an example, right? Truth be told, I didn't spend my time talking to engineers all that much. And then I got to know Dan and understand how much of the work he does impacts what I do. And so as a profession, we have to get out of our silos within our organizations and within the world as a whole and start talking with other groups and collaborating with other groups, because that's how we're going to move our agenda forward, which is an agenda that I think is a pretty valuable one, because it's really about the profession, the populations that we serve, and the planet that we all share. So we felt that there were really three big tenets to being bold, and those are around economics, technology, and conservation. And actually, those three pillars are all very well interwoven, although they may not seem like it on the surface. And I have to keep an eye on the clock, because I'm passionate about this, and we'll lose our whole afternoon. So somebody tell me every once in a while if I get going. But economics. Now, people always think about economics in terms of finance. That's the first place everyone's mind goes, right, is money. Well, economics is so much bigger and broader than that, right? Economics is about the science of decision-making and about power, right? Power and influence. Now, we're 55 million healthcare professionals around the globe, represent 50% of the healthcare workforce, and yet somehow we have trouble being heard. So this goes back to getting out of my silo and engaging people outside of the nursing profession. Now, in America, we're about 350 million people, 4 million nurses. Now, 4 million might move the needle a little bit, but in most of the countries around the world, we are the most trusted profession. So in America, if the 4 million nurses engaged with 350 million Americans, we could actually move policy, right? Because they trust us that we're going to do the right thing. So in terms of influencing decisions and using economics, it still comes back to engaging with people to make things happen. But economics is really important, and I'm not encouraging each of you to go out and become an economist, but to have a basic fluency in economics, and keep in mind that economics is truly about decision making. It's not just about the finance, right? So, and I always joke, because it's kind of the ETC, right? Economics, technology, and conservation, the et cetera of things that we never talk about. But when it comes to technology, I mean, technology has been an absolutely fantastic thing for us, right? You think about it's helped to advance our profession, advance research. I mean, and I come from a technology background. I thought, technology was the silver bullet for everything. Well, we all know it's not, right? We see the bad things going on around the world with technology. And so we have to be fluent in technology. Now, we keep hearing about, big data and artificial intelligence. Again, I'm going to take a little sliver here. There's a lot we could talk about, right? And all the wonderful things it's going to do for us when it gets here. Well, guess what? It's already here. It's all around us. Pick up your iPhone and talk to Siri. You're using artificial intelligence to do that, right? And the good news is because of the type of work that we do as a profession, we don't have to be worried about being put out of work by technology anytime soon. We've got plenty of work to do, and that's a really good thing. But in our role as patient advocates, we have to be fluent in technology because technology is having huge impacts on our populations, right? And so if I just stay with artificial intelligence for a second, right? It's built on data, right? The algorithms learn off the data. Well, where does the data start? It starts with us collecting that data, right? So if we don't do that in a meticulous fashion and be in conversation with the technology people about the data that we actually need to be collecting, we're going to introduce bias into the system. And then we have to keep in mind at the same time, those algorithms that are processing that data, they were written by human beings too, which means if there's any unconscious bias in that data, and there's unconscious bias in the algorithm, think about how that's going to perpetuate itself over time. And that's going to widen between the haves and the have-nots. It's going to impact patient outcomes. There are just all kinds of untoward things that are going to happen. And that's just one of the technologies we're having to deal with right now. Now, think about social media. And I was so pleased to see an appropriate ad leaving the United States about the impact of social media on young girls and their image. I had the television on this morning, and there was actually a commercial on that actually talked about how we have to be better about how we utilize social media with our young ladies. In the United States, teenage female suicide is up 128% since the advent of Instagram, right? So we have to be thinking about these things all the time when we're interacting with our patients. It's our job to advocate for them. So I will make the case that we have to be involved in every stage of technology, from the development to the selection to the implementation. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to be burdened with technology that does not make us efficient as a profession, right? And we'll spend our time treating the electronic health record rather than treating our patients, which we know where we want to spend our time. It's going to be where we're going to have the biggest impact, right? So just a little bit about technology and why we felt that was important. And finally, the last piece being conservation. And I'll admit, I've been passionate about conservation since I was around for the first Earth Day, and I've got the gray hair to prove it. Yeah. But, I love the outdoors. I love coming to this side of the pond because over here, people appreciate the environment. It seems like at least a little bit more than us Americans do. You look around, the beautiful gardens, the effort that's put into sustain the beautiful environment. It blows me away. I got even more passionate about conservation, and I'll come back to that, when I attended a conference at Cambridge a long time ago. And it was a healthcare technology conference, but we wound up spending a lot of time talking about the impact of healthcare on the environment, right? And so we're talking a lot about planetary health these days, which is incredibly important, and I encourage all of us. And it was at that conference that I learned that actually in the healthcare realm, it's actually the pharmaceuticals that are the biggest producer of carbon-related things. And I had no idea. And we weren't even talking about this in America at the time, right? So again, this point that we can leave America and we can actually learn from things from other people and bring it back is a good thing. And so conservation wound up in there because it's not only about planetary health, right? We have to think, and it's just not about natural resources, we have to think about our human resources too, right? There are great ways to redeploy human capital that will use less resources, which will then have less of an impact on the environment if we're willing to maybe even take a step back and do some things the way that we used to instead of everything being disposable, right? There were days when we used to actually put things in the autoclave, sterilize them, take them back out and use them again rather than throwing them in the rubbish bin. Or we would take our shoes to the cobbler to be repaired instead of just throwing them out and buying a new pair of shoes. And that cobbler, that person, was a skilled professional, proud of their craft. And yet we've lost so many of these skilled professionals along the way. And if they were doing their job, I wouldn't be out buying new shoes, right? I'd just be having my old shoes repaired. And we would have people engaged in doing really valuable work that's going to protect the planet that we all share. And I think that that's really important, because if we continue to be disposable societies and on top of that have technological unemployment because people are going to be put out of work because of technology, we're going to have a hard time on our hands, because idle hands are the devil's workshop, as we've all found, and there's going to be more social unrest, which again impacts nursing. And if we don't do a good job of taking care of the planet, there are going to be migrations of entire populations, which we're already beginning to see, and that's going to impact the nursing profession. And at the time that's all happening, who's being impacted the most? The people who can afford it the least, right? And in all of that happening, then nurses are also migrating away from the places where they're needed the least. So I think we have to step up and be bold about these three things, because, how do I say this correctly? Now, a CFO of a healthcare organization is probably never going to learn to speak like a nurse, right? We're going to need to learn to speak like a CFO a lot of times to advance our agenda. So this is why I think it's important to be fluent in these topics in terms of being able to speak and collaborate and boundary span with other people, because these are kind of common languages outside of nursing, just like math is supposed to be the universal language. So if we can talk about economics, technology, and conservation, we can collaborate with other groups and get our agenda moved forward. So what does it really take to be bold? Well, it doesn't take being pejorative. It doesn't mean being the loudest voice in the room or being inflammatory. It means being armed with knowledge and facts and being willing to open a dialogue with other people. Some things that we've lost sight of, right? Retreating to our other corners rather than talking to other folks. We know how to do that. We know how to talk to people, right? So that's our job. If we're going to advance an agenda of sustainability, it's being fluent in other languages and being willing to connect. So really, what does it take to be bold? It takes the three characteristics that this organization was founded on. It takes love, courage, and honor. And I will say it's been an honor to be with you here today. I look forward to interacting with all of you over the next 4 days and learning a lot. And thank you so much for supporting Sigma and for all you do for our patients and our profession. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for those inspirational words. There's an awful lot in there, and I think over the next couple of days we're going to unpack this. As I said, it's a concept that we're just getting our heads around, and I certainly look forward to some of the debates and discussions in relation to some of the items that you raised in your opening address there. Thank you very much. Okay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Liz. Liz Madigan Dr. Liz Madigan is the Chief Executive Officer of Sigma, and she's been the CEO since 2017. She's a graduate of Dayton, Ohio. She did her Master's in Ohio State University and her PhD in Case Western Reserve. And those that know Liz know that she's absolutely passionate about home nursing, community nursing, and all those things that are so close to our hearts as A, human beings, and B, as professionals in terms of staying at home, and being around the people that we love. That's what Liz is also a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing in the United States, but she's also a fellow here of this institute here, a fellow ad eundem here of the Royal College of Surgeons, and that's part of the accolade of the both the quality and the output of her work and in the circle of nursing and midwifery and the nursing profession over the last number of years. I also found out last year when I presented at Sigma International, she, like me, is a big Johnny Cash fan. And well, I used Johnny Cash. I used a Johnny Cash video as part of my presentation, and Liz had, in fairness to Liz, she tweeted it very admirably around the community. So please give a warm welcome to Liz.
Thanks, Mark. It's so nice to be with you all. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. Those of you I've seen both virtually as well as in person before, so it's delightful to be in person, isn't it? Isn't it a pleasure to finally be in person again? Yeah. So I want to say thank you for the very warm welcome from the organizers, the very warm welcome here in Ireland. I want to thank you for everything you do. You heard from both Liz Westcott and Marie-Louise about everything going on in this region. This region is one of our stellar regions. We use you as an example for other regions in terms of the many things that you do and the things you do so well. So I want to also say thank you for the contributions that you've made to the international part of the organization as well. So Liz talked and Marie-Louise talked about some of the people that have been featured. I'm going to tell you what's going on and what kinds of things we're working on in Indianapolis. And as Ken said, I bring greetings on behalf of the 83 staff who are Indianapolis based. In most cases, some are now virtual. So we started doing second chance inductions. I wanted you to hear about this because you'll have members come in a second chance induction. So these are for people who are invited to membership, but for whatever reason missed the chapter induction. So what we do is we offer an induction for them after that date. So you may have members come in and say, oh, I was a second chance inductee. That's what they're talking about. So what we do is we host a virtual celebration. And I know that some of your members have come in that way because I've had the pleasure of meeting them at the second chance inductions. So we're really happy. We started this during the pandemic and we're going to continue because as of, since September, we've inducted 2,400 new members this way. So we're really happy to have that. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of know what that is in case someone says, oh yeah, I'm a second chance induction person. So what are we working on? We are delighted to have an advocacy certificate program. So this is free to Sigma members. Why are we working on advocacy? Because at the height of the pandemic and since, we've heard nurses coming to us, members coming to us saying, we can't let these kinds of things continue to happen. We have issues with our work environment. We have issues with our pay. We have issues with not being able to get what we need. We need to do something. And so we said, well, let's look at this and see what we can come up with. So what is this for? This is a program designed for nurses who need help understanding how to be better advocates, whether it's advocacy in your organization, within your workplace, within your region. Maybe you're working on something in your community. Maybe it's something that's in your country. It could be also global. So we're, like all of our programs, this was developed by, we have somebody develop it and somebody review it. So the developer was Wanda Montalvo, who's from the United States, but the reviewer on this, the subject matter expert, was Siobhan O'Halloran, the former chief nurse of Ireland. So we were delighted to have Siobhan's input into this program. Again, free for members. We have the Oral Health Equity webinar and course. So why is Sigma getting into oral health, and especially oral health equity? Because we realize that oral health doesn't really have a clinical home. It goes prenatal through end of life. Many of us of a certain age, vintage, I call myself seasoned. Many of us of a certain seasoning never got oral health education in our beginning programs. We know that in many places, and there's no generalization, but in many places, access to oral health is a problem for many kinds of populations, and there are severely underserved populations. And so with the support of Colgate-Palmolive, we've been able to develop both a webinar and a course. And at the end of the course, you get a digital badge that makes you an oral health equity leader. You can also have access to kits that you can then take out into the community and provide information and education on oral health. And these kits actually have things that you can use. The first part is on pediatric. We're working on adult courses, and especially for older adults, because we know that that's a big issue for older adults. So this is one free to any nurse anywhere. So this is not something that's a Sigma membership benefits, free to any nurse anywhere. We also do books. These are the most recent titles. I think there's going to be an announcement about some giveaways for this conference, including a couple of those books. I will let the people organizing that tell you the details there. We would encourage you, if you have a book idea, to come to us. Sigma publishes 12 to 14 books a year. We're always looking for new ideas. We're also always looking for people who might be reviewers. So a lot of our focus, of course, is on leadership and education, because that's our main focus areas. The other thing I'll remind you is our journals. Don't miss the journals. You'll get those electronically. Journal of Nursing Scholarship is still within the top 10 of all journals globally. We're always looking for reviewers. If you're looking for something that you can make a contribution to, we're always looking for reviewers for both journals. Worldviews on Evidence-Based Nursing is really what it says. It's really focused on evidence-based practice and implementation. And so I would encourage you to take full advantage of your journal opportunities, and then also submit. We're always looking for new ideas. There are some special calls out from the Journal of Nursing Scholarship that I would encourage you to take a look at. Those deadlines are coming up pretty quickly, so if you have an idea, it's probably time to start writing. The other thing we do is we call them academies. These are leadership development programs. And so if you look at the Sigma Academies, and I'm here all week, I can talk to you about any of these if you have questions. If you look at the Sigma Academies, these are 12-month programs. They're mentored. And so you get a mentor and subject matter experts to work with you on. The first 3 there are for people in academic settings. We tried to hit the various levels of academic settings. There's also one for nurses in practice. That's the Nurse Leadership Academy for Practice. And then the Nursing Now Challenge. The Nursing Now Challenge is a member-only academy. As many of you know, we had a Nightingale Challenge, and so Catherine Hanaway, it's nice to see you here. Catherine was involved in the Nightingale Challenge early on. We had a number of cohorts of the Nightingale Challenge, and when the Nursing Now Challenge came along, we now have 2 cohorts of it. So the Nursing Now Challenge, I know we have members from it because I've seen them in the program. So we're very happy to have them, and that, again, is a Sigma member benefit. So the ones with asterisk are member only. Then we do the Virtual Academy, Writing for Publications. So this is one, we know that nurses in some places in the world don't have the support they need to write for publication, and it's important for their leadership development and their progression. And so within that one, what we do is we ask you to come with the bare bones of a manuscript, and over that 6-month period with a peer mentoring as well as expert mentoring, you walk out with a manuscript ready to submit. We're really happy in our first pilot on there that we were actually able to get, I think, 4 manuscripts already under review and or accepted. So this is one that we're looking for. This is a pretty rapid piece. The Sigma Virtual Mini Academies, these are much shorter. These are designed for people nurses in clinical practice, who would like to write something, but they're not going to have necessarily a research study to write up. It might be a clinical piece, it could be an opinion piece, it could be a policy piece. So it's really designed to help those nurses learn the mechanics of writing and submission. For all of these academies, we can always use experts. So if you're someone who's written for publication and you're willing to help us out, please let us know, because we'd be glad to engage you. Sometimes our biggest limitations on these is we don't have enough mentors. So that's why we're always looking for people to help. We also have one on evidence to practice. The health equity training one is in a pilot right now. That one is using virtual reality for health equity training. So we're anxious to see how that goes, because we're very excited about rolling that one out. And then global advocacy. As you know, we have United Nations representatives. And so the UN representatives who were just rotating off developed a program on global advocacy. And that one has 40 people enrolled in the pilot. So we anticipate that being very popular. Janice, where are you? I want to call you out. So Janice Hawkins is one of the UN reps who just rolled off, and so Janice has been involved in a lot of our UN programming. So if you want to talk to her about Sigma's role at the UN, she's here. Are you here all week? I'm here all week. All right, okay, there you go. I said that like a comedian. I know, right? Here all week. I know. I felt the same. I was going to say that, but then I thought, no. Research grants. I want to remind you that we have multiple research grants per year, and so these 2 I'm just calling out. The small grant program is our broadest program. It has the most different kinds of research that we fund. It's also the most that we give in number. So that's a $5,000 grant. We give somewhere between 16 and 20 each year. With the December 1st deadline, it's a great opportunity for doctoral students. It's a great opportunity for early career nurses who want to try to get something going in terms of their programs. It's also a great opportunity for people who need some pilot work done for another project. So I would encourage you to also look for those. And then our Global Nursing Research Grant deadline. This one requires multiple countries involved. And it's a $10,000 grant. So we're really happy. I'll tell you the exciting news that you may not know about your region. Each one of these grants has different kinds of qualifications, so I would encourage you to look at those and keep an eye. We have multiple deadlines every year. Again, we always need reviewers if you're willing to review. It always helps to have reviewers from lots of different regions because we get applications from all the different regions. So in 2021, Caroline Dixon was one of the small grant recipients. We're really happy to call that out because she's from your region. And she was really talking about person-centeredness, an important topic that we're learning a lot about in the US, that you all have been talking about much longer and have much more programs of research going on this. And then last week, we just announced, I don't know if you know this, but Marco Tomiadio is actually the recipient for 2022 for the Global Nursing Research Grant. And he's working in 3 countries, the United Kingdom, Italy, and Finland on vaccination and vaccination hesitancy. So we're very excited about funding this grant because of the timely nature of the grant. And so I didn't know if you knew that this had been, so there you go. Liz had done such a great job of talking about what all you have accomplished. I wasn't sure she knew this one, so. The Emerging Nurse Researcher Scholar, so Siobhan O'Connor is this year's recipient. She'll be recognized in Edinburgh next month. But I want to let you know that the nominations for next year open on July 1st. And so for this one, what we do is we do one person per region. So if we have multiple applications from a region, one person is selected. So you all have done a great job of making sure you have someone pretty much recognized every year, and we really appreciate that. I would encourage you to please keep that up. This is important recognition for our early career scientists to get them some of the recognition they so well deserve. And then the International Nurse Researcher Hall of Fame. As you know, we have Professor Alan Finnegan and Professor Gennaro Rocco coming in this year. We've had great representation from this region in the past. Again, nominations for next year, so for 2023, open on July 1st of this year. So it's a pretty long process, only because we get a lot of nominations and then they have to go through the review process. So we really appreciate making sure that we make sure that you know that these are available because, again, this is a very prestigious group. I think right now we're up to 225 nurses from around the world who have been in the Hall of Fame. And so we're very excited to bring in our additional nurses each year in terms of the nurse scientist. And oh, by the way, that is the piece of art that you get for your desk. So. Honorary membership, so this is one because we have our convention coming up in 2023. This is where we recognize honorary members. As you heard, you've had honorary members from this region before. That nomination opens up on July 1st. So if you have someone you want to nominate, July 1st is when it starts. So please take a look. And they will be recognized at Convention 2023, which is going to be held in San Antonio, Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. Also at Convention in 2023, we do the International Awards for Nursing Excellence. These are the different kinds of awards. We have Founders Awards, we have awards for research, we have awards for education, we have awards for leadership. There's a whole number of awards. This is where Professor Janet Scammell and Professor Elizabeth Rosser were recognized in this past November. And so these also open on November 1st. So again, I'm trying to get you sort of thinking about who you might want to put forward for some of these. Take a look at every criteria is a little different in terms of what we're looking for there, but I would encourage you to take a look there. If you have questions about either grants or awards, so the grants is the first 2, awards is the second 2 pieces. So you can either go on to the website or you can email if you have questions. We're glad to answer questions. I see people taking pictures, so I'll pause for a moment. All right, and then last but not least are our upcoming events. So Research Congress, you've heard about, we're going to be in Edinburgh. We're delighted to be back in Europe again. We look forward to seeing some of you there. Chapter Leadership Connection, this will be in September in Indianapolis. This is for chapter leaders. It's very much focused on chapter support and development, so we hope to see some of you there too. We'd be glad to welcome you to Indianapolis in the fall because it's a nice time of year to be there. Currently, right now, it's 34 degrees in terms of 30, and that's 34C. That's your 34, not my 34. So yes, it's quite warm. So this will be much better. It won't be 34, we hope. So, creating healthy work environments. We're going to be in Austin, Texas, in the spring next year. This is a conference that really is devoted to healthy work environments, to really trying to say, what does it take to have a healthy work environment? Because we're Sigma, we're focused on evidence. We're focused on the evidence behind it, not just people's good ideas. We want to see what actually works. And so as part of this conference, we also give awards in terms of healthy work environments, one for a clinical setting and one for an academic setting. So we would welcome you to come join us in Austin. And then finally, convention in November in San Antonio. So you get to see some of that. You get to be in Texas twice if you come join us both times. So, and San Antonio is a delightful city. I think you'll find that there's a lot of things to do there. And it's probably also the place where you actually have the most opportunity to interact with members from around the world because it's really the one where we have the most global representation. So if you've never been to convention, it's a high energy event, and as you heard, coming to conventions sometimes is all it takes to get chapters excited and started. So I finally want to just close by saying I really appreciate the selection of the theme on sustainability, the environmental sustainability that you're talking about, but also the professional sustainability that you've really identified. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into that, and I look forward to talking with all of you. Like I said, I'm around all week, so like a bad comedian. And I look forward to hearing anything that you have that you think you can offer us. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. And look at all those great opportunities. It's great to see. It's great to see. My only job here now is to bring this ceremony to a close, but also to remind you, if you looked at your QR code, you will know that there are concurrent events. There's a World Cafe event taking place in the Nightingale Room, and that's chaired by Professor Alice Coffey and managed by Dr. Ruth Lenihan. The two concurrent sessions then are in the Houston Room, chaired by Dr. Catherine Buckley, and also in the Chain, I never know to say Chain or Chainee Room, but Chain Room. Thank you very much. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our outgoing president from the Omega Epsilon chapter, Dr. Geraldina Harnett, and it's only today it's sinking in that you're handing the presidency over to me after announcing that we're the biggest chapter in Europe. So you haven't kind of set me any major tasks or jobs to do as we continue to grow and flourish. So thank you for your time, your attention, for your tweets. I've seen some of them there online. Don't be afraid to go on to the website. Again, thanks to Paolo and his colleague for setting up the website and the conference information on the website. And I just want to wish you the very best over the next couple of days. I'll see you all over the sessions over the next couple of days. And please do enjoy yourself and leave us a little note about your thoughts around a sustainability statement that will come out or emanate from this conference. Thank you very much.